end with one final note. We've talked a lot about best practices, and I hope that's a principle you use in your job too. When you sit and you're now in a new position, I hope you think, well, what are the best practices of people who are successful in this position? And you find those out and you start doing them. So we learned those. It's the Sherpa tracking list, the different things you heard. I hope second that you learned urgency. There is still time and opportunity to be able to get an internship, but unless you have that fire behind you right now, I am afraid it might pass you up. And so my goal is to have that urgency created to where you're actually going out and making the needed things. Now, one of my favorite scriptures, and this being BYU, I know some people say, well, we talk about the gospel so much, but this was something that truly changed my life, and so I wanted to end with this. As a father, as a husband, my number one priority is to be able to provide for my family. And that's not just temporally, but also spiritually and emotionally, and you name it. And for any father who husband or wife who has looked at their children and said, I don't know how we're going to be able to eat next week. It is one of the most life-changing experiences I have ever had, and I've been through that. I've been through that, and because of that, I made it my goal to make sure for myself, I never have that again. That's why I came back to the MBA. That's why I chose the different career path I'm choosing. I want to have the skills to where I will have that opportunity to never say that to my children again. But two, I made it as a goal to help everyone I can. That's why I'm part of the Sherpa program. And that's why I'm trying to help with some of the urgency and some of the different things that will help. The story is, when I was going through that time, I was reading 1 Nephi chapter 16. And for those of you who are familiar with the story, what it is, by this time, Nephi and his family, they've already done what they've been told to do so many different times. They've left Jerusalem, they've gone back. They've left again, they've gone back for the women. They left again, now they're in the wilderness. They don't know where they're going to live the next day. They don't know exactly how they're going to be able to provide for their families. It's tough, it's hard. And in their mind, they're thinking, we've done everything that we were told to do. I felt prompted, if I'm Lehi, to bring my family out of the wilderness and come, or bring my family out of Jerusalem. And now they're in the wilderness, and I had that experience. Coming back to the MBA, a lot of you are saying, you know what? I believe I was prompted to come back to the MBA program. This is where I'm supposed to be. But then all of a sudden, in chapter 16, something happens. Nephi, his job was hunter. His employment was, he was a hunter. That's how he provided for his family. And they went out hunting, and he actually broke his bow. Sounds like a simple little thing, but if your job is a hunter, and you broke your bow, are you going to be able to provide? No. So chapter 16 talks about Nephi's unemployment. So for anyone who's ever been unemployed or looking for a job, this is the chapter to go to. Now, when I was reading this, I thought, oh my gosh, that's exactly like me. I felt inspired to do what I was doing. I was doing things that I thought Heavenly Father wanted me to do. And then all of a sudden now I don't know how I'm going to provide. For you guys, I came back to the MBA program, and I don't even have an internship yet. And I felt this was the right thing, and I don't know if I'm going to get one or not. And you have all those different things. Well, the part that touched me is to hear Lehi's response and Laman and Lemuel's response. Lehi was the prophet and the patriarch of the family, but it was so difficult that even he murmured. It's hard. And for those of you who have been there, you know how hard it is. But the point I want to leave with you today is what Nephi's response was. From the beginning, we knew that Nephi said, I will go and do. And so when he broke his bow, this is what Nephi did. It said, and it came to pass that I, Nephi, did make out of wood a bow, and out of a straight stick an arrow. Wherefore I did arm myself with a bow and an arrow, with a sling and with stones. And I said unto my father, whither shall I go to obtain food? And I read that and I thought, okay, if I'm going to have that same mentality, what do I do? Well, first off, Nephi made a bow. Now, the important thing I want you to catch is, did he just make a bow and say, hey, now I have a bow, I can go hunt? No, the second thing is, he was prepared to the point where he also brought us a sling and stones. So instead of just saying, well, you know what, I'm going to work on my resume, he said, I'm going to work on my resume, I'm going to work on my interviewing, I'm going to work on my networking, I want to be prepared in case my bow breaks again. I'll have this other opportunity because I was prepared. And then finally he said, where do you want me to go? Went to his patriarch, his father, and humbly said, I've been guided this whole time, I've done what you want me to do, whither shall I go? And when I did that, I had the very same experience. And I was led to the decisions that have led me to this point now. And I promise you that the result that happened with Nephi, it's pretty interesting. They have a Liahona that then goes and points to a high mountain. And at that high mountain, he's able to obtain wild beasts. Back before temples were built, you'll see mountains almost interchangeably connected with temples. In fact, there's 4 temples that Nephi talks, or 4 mountains that Nephi talks about, and he learns something new at every time. And finally, on the 4th mountain, he's able to build the temple to worship. So my counsel to everyone is, first, be prepared. Look at yourself and say, what can I be doing differently, better, and reach out to those resources to get there. Second, to be humble enough to say, whither shall I go? Sherpa, help me. Where should I be? Heavenly Father, most importantly, what should I be doing? Where should I go? And if that involves going to a religious edifice, if you believe in that, I would encourage that just like Nephi did. But if not, I would say the Lord is aware of you. He knows you. He wants to help you. And it's my testimony He will. And BYU has had that history of being able to see that. And I'm excited for the opportunity. And go out there and get that internship. Thank you very much.